From nowhere, from nowhere, from nowhere, from nowhere, from nowhere.
Today we're talking about Summer of Soul, a documentary about a festival so incredible it should have been legendary. But somehow history tried to bury it like your uncle's old mixtape. Let's be real, when we talk about 1969 and music festivals, one name dominates: Woodstock. Love, peace, and a whole lot of questionable hygiene. But what if I told you that at the exact same time, in the heart of Harlem, there's a festival with Stevie Wonder, Nina Simone, Mahalia Jackson, Sly and the Family Stone, Gladys Knight and the Pips, The Fifth Dimension, and more? Sounds like a fever dream, right? A festival like that should be in history books, celebrated and replayed every year like the Super Bowl halftime show. But nope. It was left to collect dust in the basement like somebody's old VHS tapes. The Harlem Cultural Festival was more than just a concert. It was a revolution, a moment where black excellence, music, fashion, and culture came together in the sweltering summer heat. Thousands of people, families brought their kids. The soul of Harlem was alive. And the performers? This wasn't just a good lineup. This was all time. Stevie Wonder, young, hungry, and showing out on the drums. Not the keys, the drums. The man was a whole band by himself. Mahalia Jackson and Mavis Staples, when they sang Precious Lord, you could feel the ghost of MLK and every ancestor in the crowd. Nina Simone, she wasn't just singing, she was preaching, like a prophet in a piano dress. Sly and the Family Stone, these dudes looked like they time traveled from the future to remind us what cool was supposed to be. Gladys Knight and the Pips. You ever hear a voice so smooth you felt like somebody was tucking you in with a warm blanket? That's Gladys. The Chambers Brothers, time wasn't just ticking, it was funky. The energy in the crowd, a sea of beautiful black people, rocking afros, dashikis, bell-bottoms looking like they just walked off a vintage Essence magazine cover. This was a cultural moment, a historic event that should have been immortalized. Instead, it got packed up, shelved, and ignored like an unpaid bill. Here's where it gets wild. The entire festival was professionally filmed, but nobody wanted it. That's right, they tried to sell this footage and every network basically said, nah, we're good. Meanwhile, Woodstock got turned into a global phenomenon. A whole brand. You can buy Woodstock t-shirts, Woodstock albums. Shoot, they tried to recreate it twice and failed miserably. But this was ignored because mainstream media didn't think a festival for us, by us, was important. And let's be real, this was the 1960s. America was still clutching its pearls over black folks drinking from the same water fountain. A festival showcasing black joy, black power, and black unity. Some weren't ready for all that greatness. Now let's zoom out to 1969 as a whole. This wasn't just any year. The country was on fire. MLK and Bobby Kennedy assassinated the year before. Malcolm X killed in 1965. The civil rights movement was at its crossroads. Black America was tired, and in the middle of all this tension, this festival became a sanctuary, a place to just exist, to celebrate, to be seen. And even the politics were wild. Tony Lawrence, the festival's host, somehow got John Lindsay, the mayor of New York City at the time, to show up and to support it. Think about that, a Republican mayor getting love in Harlem. That's like seeing a vegan at a Texas barbecue joint. It just doesn't happen. One of the moments that hit different for me was watching Billy Davis Jr. and Marilyn McCoo see their younger selves perform. They got emotional talking about how their music wasn't seen as black enough. Now I want you to pause for a second and let that marinate. Not black enough. How do you color a sound? Hell, how do you color a voice? These were people who grew up in the black church, who had soul dripping from their pores. But because their music had crossover appeal, some folks questioned their blackness. That moment wasn't just emotional, it was a reality check. Listen, this documentary is damn near perfect. But if I gotta nitpick, one, more Stevie Wonder and B.B. King. You got these legends in the lineup, and I needed more. Number two, I wish it was longer. 2 hours for this wasn't quite enough. Seriously, if this was a 6-part series, I'd be first in line with popcorn. This documentary is a time capsule of black greatness. It was almost lost forever. Watching it feels like reclaiming history. And real talk, this is something I wish I could have watched with my mother. She lived through this era. She would have had stories. She would have pointed at the screen and said, I remember that outfit. That's the beauty of Summer of Soul. It's a bridge between generations, a reminder of how powerful our culture is, and proof that they cannot erase us. If you're loving this vibe and want more, don't just sit there. Click here and keep the good times rolling. And I'll see you next time here at Troy Hill Talks.